Hello, and welcome to Around the Political World with John Ruffman. I am your host, John Ruffman. If you're a fan of the show, make sure to hit the follow button on the top right of Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you are listening at this very moment. When you hit follow, leave a review or share an episode with a friend. It helps other people discover the show, keeps us going, and as I like to point out to you each and every day, it expands our base. I want to talk this morning about presidential power. Donald Trump has decided to reimpose a travel ban. This time, it is 11 nations who are directly affected, and of course, he can add whatever he wants in the future. The question of presidential power is important. In addition to this move by Donald Trump, you all know that the family of the young man who committed the atrocity in Boulder, 5 people rounded up and theoretically on the verge of being deported, but there's a hold on that because of court action. My question this morning is a simple one. How much power should a president have? Should a president be able to rule by proclamation? Should a president be able to rule by simply issuing an executive order? Is that the kind of republic we have? You all remember the very famous line of Benjamin Franklin when asked by a woman at Constitutional Hall after the Constitution was agreed upon, "What have you given us, Dr. Franklin, a republic or a monarchy?" And Franklin responded, "A republic, if you can keep it." That is the question which we now face in the United States of America. Are we going to be able to keep our republic? And to me, this is the most important single question that we now face. In addition to all the rest of the actions by Donald Trump, he has now ordered an investigation into Joe Biden, his predecessor. This question of presidential power, or shall I suggest the potential for abuse of power, is something that the court needs to consider right now. No doubt, even as I speak, there are those who are going to court to try to prevent Donald Trump from exercising this travel ban. Will they be heard? Well, the answer is they must be heard, because otherwise the president's power is unchecked. Now, let me be clear to those of you who are Donald Trump supporters, and to those who are opposed to Donald Trump. I don't care who the president is. The question of the authority of a president of the United States and how a president uses his vast powers is something which should be debated, discussed, and frankly, either agreed to or disagreed to by the courts. Donald Trump is waging now a war against the courts, whether it is the district court or his criticism of justices of the court, including Amy Coney Barrett, a Supreme Court justice who he nominated and who was confirmed by the Senate. There cannot be an unchecked presidency. We do not live in a monarchy. A president cannot rule by fiat. I am impassioned about this because the abuse of power is so easy to see. Now, at the question, when I say it's easy to see, what do you choose to see? When a president invokes national security, obviously there are real concerns. But I would remind you that it was Richard Nixon who suggested in his infamous smoking gun tape, national security be invoked in order to cover up what was going on with Watergate. And of course, what happened in the end was the truth came out. This president, in my judgment, and it is simply the judgment of one individual, is misusing the power of the presidency. And the only check on the power of a president is the court. The Supreme Court's term is coming to a close. There will be a variety of judgments rendered by the Supreme Court. One of the questions which they must deal with, which they must address, is the question of limitations on presidential power, whether it will be in this term, which is about to conclude, or whether it will be in the next term. This is an absolute necessity. I am watching with great concern the rise in presidential power. I do not believe in a unitary presidency. I do not believe a president should have unchecked power. I do not believe that in the name of national security, a president of the United States can do whatever he chooses to do. Do you understand how difficult this question is. It is difficult enough that the question of whether we are a republic or a monarchy is clear. Donald Trump is not the king of the United States, and his powers should be checked. Not only that, and I want to say this very clearly, where is the Congress? Where is the Congress? Where are Republicans in Congress who we know that if Joe Biden or Barack Obama or any Democrat had tried to exercise these kinds of powers would have been up in arms? This is a moment of truth for the Republican Party and for the United States of America. There is no such thing in this country as a king. And what Donald Trump is trying to do is to reshape, remold the presidency of the United States into an instrument of his will. That is not the way the presidency was designed, nor did our founders intend it to operate in that fashion. If the court really wants to take a look at strict constructionism of interpreting the law as it was written, the Supreme Court must limit the power of this president and any president who would attempt to abuse power as Donald Trump is now doing. I'm saying this with deep regret because I believe in a strong presidency, but I also believe in a strong Congress. I also believe in a strong court system. Why do I believe that? Because I believe the founders' intent, which was a balance of power, is critical at this moment in our history. The court must move and move quickly, or else this president's abuse of power will continue unchecked. Be clear, be precise, do not hesitate to offer your point of view. And by the way, this should be conveyed to our members of the United States Senate and our members of the House of Representatives, no matter where we live in the country. We need to remind people of what the American democratic system works. We are a republic, not a monarchy. And Donald Trump needs to be reminded. And yes, I regret to say the Republican Party needs to be reminded. This statement that I am making today may be the most important thing I could ever say about the American presidency. And it is needed now, more than ever, for the court to intervene and stop this, what I believe, is an abuse of power. Thanks for tuning into another episode of Around the Political World with John Rothman. I am John Rothman. Make sure to follow along and let me know your thoughts on the show by leaving a review on Apple Podcasts and sharing an episode with a friend or colleague so we can continue to grow and expand, which of course is our goal. You can interact with me on Facebook, LinkedIn, and of course many of you email me. Some of you even have the audacity to call me, and it's great because I like that interaction. And of course, I want to say a big thank you to Gogo Zoger, who makes this podcast work. It's up and running every day because of Gogo, and I want to extend to her, as I always do, my thanks. This is John Rothman, who believes we are a republic, not a monarchy. I am John Rothman, and you are listening to Around the Political World with John Rothman. I will see you back here tomorrow.